Oh, it's not working. I thought I had the music sussed tonight, everybody, but we're on air and I can't get the theme tune to play. I was playing the news perfectly successfully just now and trying it out, but now I can't get the theme tune. Anyway, it's me. Hello, Lucy. Good evening. It's me, Toby Payne-Kirk, on air on the Teachers Talk Radio. I'm awaiting Ed, my dear friend Ed Finch, to join me, and we will be broadcasting from Kent and Devon and pingty ping to ping. I'm going to turn my pinging off. Anyway, there we go. Right, Tom Rogers is in. Why can't I get my theme tune to play? I was just playing the music. Good evening, Tom. But I had the news on and I was just checking it all out and everything was working. And now I couldn't get the theme tune to play. So poor Tom, I know he loves the theme tune. Anyway, it's Wednesday evening. It's just after 9 o'clock. And it is time for the Late Late Show with Toby. And just try refreshing the old browser. How do I do that? Refresh it actually whilst I'm broadcasting, Tom. So I'm confused. I worry about refreshing the old browser. Just oh yes, okay. And Ed wants to join now. Sorry, so professional. Good evening, Ed.
Good evening. I couldn't find Teachers Talk Radio. I was using the search function and it didn't want to know.
Right.
I was panicking, if I'm honest, because I didn't want to leave you by yourself because I know that your sheet's to the wind, aren't you? I don't know if you were going to mention that.
I'm going to mention it in a minute. But first of all, Ed, I am going to try, because Tom has been communicating with me via the chat. Tom Rogers, CEO of Teachers Talk Radio, and all-round, large Twitter presence on this stuff. He told me to refresh the browser, which I've just done. So I'm going to play our theme tune, and you are going to do the talking in the gap instead of me for a change. Here we go.
Is that okay?
Well, it's still not working. What a ferret.
Oh, and I was going to be so impressive as well. I was going to sound professional, polished.
I've just got the spinny circle of death.
You know when you
get the spinny circle of death. Oh well, I'll try refreshing the browser.
I mean, maybe we should, create our own music as we always do. In a way, not in a creepy way. I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea, but maybe we should.
No, anyway, Ed, it's been a very long time.
Guitar.
You're playing an electric guitar. Are you going to open with some music?
Well, only because you can't get the theme tune working. I wasn't going to, but I feel like I have to now.
Yeah, go on then.
Right, hang on a second. This is the most professional show we've done yet, isn't it?
It is.
What sort of sound would you like, Toby?
Lots of reverb, I think, tonight, and some gain. Loads of just put it through a rat effects pedal like Graham Coxon does on song 2.
Well, I'll try that then.
Oh,
hang on a second. Let's see what is this to your liking?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, well, all right. It's not technically very educational, is it?
No. Welcome to Teachers Talk Radio by Toby and Ed.
I mean, was that the sort of thing you were thinking of?
No. Anyway, right, come on then. Let's be serious. Okay, we've got some people in the house.
Yeah,
we've got some people in the house.
Shall I?
Stop it. Turn it off.
I mean, we could come back to it later. Maybe we could come back to that later. I don't know.
Maybe we could. So it's been a while. My daughters have been doing GCSEs and A levels, and I haven't felt that I wanted to sort of.
Have your daughters finished their GCSEs?
They have early on, because Anna, Anna finished her GCSEs today with paper 2 or paper 3 foundation maths GCSE. She's only done the foundation maths. So was that right? Was that today? I think it was. And she's only done foundation science as well. So that means most of her friends have still got, I think the physics is the last one, whether you're doing combined science or trilogy or triple or whatever it is on the something like the 16th of June, I think. So yeah, Anna's finished today. And Gemma finished her A-levels on Monday. She did art, so that was kind of done and dusted a bit earlier. And economics and psychology, and she finished off with 2 papers, and she gets 25% extra time, Gemma. So she had a nightmare day on Monday because, 2 long extended exams with lots of writing in them.
Yeah.
First day back after half term, she'd lost her rhythm.
Yeah, for a lot of children, the extra 25% is not a bonus. It's hard. They're already having a hard time concentrating. I mean, yes, they've probably got rest breaks depending on the situation and whether the school bother to apply for the reasonable adjustments. Some schools don't get around to it, we find. But yeah, I was like, with working with children, like I've been doing Key Stage 2 SATs, and those children who get the extra 25%, they haven't got a lot left in the bank when they get to it,
No, exactly.
Aim to finish it in time, and that 25% there's maybe just there as a buffer if you need it. But
it's sort of. I mean, I think Gemma's amazed me, actually. I have to say, with her A levels, she's worked very, very, very hard indeed. I wouldn't say Anna's worked especially hard for her GCSEs, and nor did Gemma when she did her GCSEs either. I think Anna's the sort of third child syndrome, and an academic study isn't really her thing. But she's great. She's going to really enjoy her art, photography, and media studies A levels. She's going to be in her element.
Love that. Can I go back in time and do that? What did I do? I did biology, geography, and English literature.
Yeah,
if I
that's
had
a good
my
conversation,
time over,
isn't it?
I would make different choices, let me tell you.
What would you do? So you did biology, geography, and English literature, quite heavy on the old writing, very heavy on the facts. And what would you do if you had to choose 3 now? What would you do?
I would love. I listen to. Do you listen to the Thinking Aloud program on BBC Radio 4? I think it's on. I listen to it as a podcast on BBC Sounds, and it's a sociology program, and it's endlessly fascinating. I wish I had known that such a thing as sociology existed.
Yes, you're very social policy. You're very egalitarian and into
I
that.
I'd love that, but I also wish I could have, gone into the arts.
Yeah.
Maybe if I had my A levels over again. Well, you see, you wouldn't, because if you had your A levels over again, you'd have a person in your school who was giving you good advice, saying you need to do sensible A levels, which will maximise your opportunities at a degree level, and you must do maths because it's a gateway A level, and universities will take it very seriously. And if you do sociology and contemporary dance, they're not going to take that very seriously, so you won't get shortlisted. Is what they would say.
Yeah, but it depends who you are, doesn't it? The whole thing's a farce because
the whole thing is a farce. I did go to university, and I'm glad I did. So I had a good time.
Well, you're a very intelligent man, Ed, as well. So I think the thing is,
but I'm also, I am obviously, everybody knows I'm hilariously, intelligent, but I'm also a white middle class person. I think, I wonder if I hadn't had that privilege.
Yeah,
I could have been as brainy as you like. I wonder what I'd be doing now. Would I have sort of ended up in the same neck of the woods, or not?
Well,
I don't know.
Some of my most, one of my not a contemporary of mine, but the younger brother of a contemporary of mine from university. So my friend Ben from university, who actually did sociology degree at Kingston Polytechnic turned university, and he's now quite into his social policy, and really into libraries, and I don't know. I don't. He's does one of those jobs that I don't really tries to explain it to me what he does, and I don't sort of. He's sort of a civil servant, but he sort of works for Camden Council. He sort of works for, I don't know what he does exactly, but he's really smart and engaging and interesting. But his younger brother Simon, who I met at Glastonbury 1994 when we went to Glastonbury, is perhaps the sharpest, quickest mind I've met. But Simon was really badly dyslexic at school, and he was went to secondary modern in Gravesend. Ben went to Gravesend Grammar, and Simon just was labelled as being thick and had a rough time at school, and ended up hating authority so much that he moved to America, but Colorado, not Texas or wherever. I don't know where, which is a tough state and which is a liberal state, but I think Colorado's about as liberal as it gets, isn't it? Anyway, but he absolutely, such a quick mind, but he's got very few qualifications and very, very few academic, credentials really. But yet is sharp. I often talk about this at school, about the difference between. I think we've had a conversation about it. Maybe it's one of our greatest hits. The difference between clever and smart. Clever
Yes.
clever
Yeah.
serves you very well in school. Clever's the ability to remember facts, the ability to sort of conform and write an essay and structure things how your teachers tell you to do it. And I think clever is you've probably got a really good memory, you've got good processing speed, and you're quite compliant and you're quite conscientious, and you therefore achieve well and you get good grades. But once you're freed from that relatively spoon-fed environment, you can flounder. A clever person in the real world outside school can sometimes flounder because they may only be clever because they're good at conforming to the system. And whereas a smart person, I think, often can really struggle and suffer in school because they're just quicker witted than their teachers, basically, and they're just gonna see it for what it is, and they're just gonna try and have a bit of fun with it and see how far they can push it. And they find, maybe if they're smart but with dyslexia or something like that, they're going to find the convention of written tests and exams challenging, and so they just sort of kind of laugh
Yeah,
their
it's
way.
certainly true, isn't it?
Yeah,
Everything in life has a season, and when you're going through your GCSEs, learn what's on the spec. Listen to the teacher when they tell you how to answer a 3-mark question and a 4-mark question.
exactly.
That's what gets you through to the next bit of the journey. And then
And I suppose
somewhere
it's
down the
smart to
line, you
kind of
actually,
play the game. I suppose.
yeah. But
If you're,
hopefully you can
it's not very
unleash it
smart to put two
when
fingers
you
up to the
get to.
system.
I don't know, when you get to university, hopefully you can unleash a little bit of it, but not in every course. A lot of courses, kids go to university and they go, yeah, do you know what? I sit in class, they tell me what to write, I get to the exam, I write it.
I think
I don't know, a lot of
I'd
professions
love
are
to.
like that, aren't they, honestly? And, if we bring it back to education, at the moment, we're going through a time when there's a lot of weight in the teaching profession to do it by the book. And there's this book that will tell you how to do it, and we'll pick up this curriculum off the shelf and stuff. And if you want to prosper in the teaching profession at the moment, it's not a great time for a creative
No,
maverick. It really
no.
isn't.
Well,
It's time
certainly
for
not
somebody who's good at saying,
not in
"Oh,
the
I read a
state
book
sector.
which told me how to teach. I will
Yeah.
follow it to the letter."
Mm.
Yeah.
But that's surely going to change, because I think, from so far as I understand, a lot of universities now, I don't know about I think the sciences are probably still relatively fact heavy, and the freedom to be sort of creative freedom probably doesn't really kick in
At
until
undergraduate level, certainly.
at
Yeah,
undergraduate level. Yeah,
level.
post grad level and in industry is very creative, but it's not very creative at undergraduate level. I agree.
Creative for the
It's
undergrad, no.
no,
I
but
think it's a real shame. I think young people get to university and they think, now at last I will be able to unleash my creativity. And I think in an awful lot of degrees, that isn't remotely what's going on, not
no.
remotely.
But I do understand. But I do understand that. I think in a lot of the humanities and stuff, they have a lot of open book exams now, and or open book essays, or they don't actually have exams. They just have sort of essay coursework and stuff, and that's sort of more in keeping, isn't it, with the Chat GPT AI thing? That the universities are a little bit closer to the what's the word? The zeitgeist, in a
Yeah.
way. Whereas we've got our heads in the sand in education about that. I mean, because you know, I appreciate the arguments of the pure traditionalists that yes, you've got to have some facts in your head, you've got to have some knowledge in your head before you can hook more stuff onto it. Of course, you can't really teach an empty vessel. You can only add on to a sort of partially filled vessel, I suppose. I get that, but equally, we have got technology now that can answer, a question in the style of a 16-year-old on the causes of the First World War or whatever it is, and so it doesn't seem to be making sense to be basically using school as a memory test, really, which is what it is, isn't it? Really,
Yeah, well, yeah, I agree. I don't know how you assess it. That's the problem. It's more
that's the
more the
problem. We've
assessment model.
become, but you could say, and this is where my idealism, which is very dormant at the moment, I have to say. But my idealism is that, assessments perhaps almost it's a really sacrilegious thing to say, or heretical thing to say as a teacher. But perhaps assessment is the problem. The fact that we have become obsessed about assessing people and finding out where they're at, rather than educating them. Education is a sort of journey, isn't it? And it's about how do you...
it often is the tail wagging the dog, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
often it is. But there you go. That's the game. That's the game you're in there, Topes. That's the game you're in.
The game I'm committed to be in.
Play the game, or find a new game. That's
that's it. And I think I was thinking about this earlier on today before we did because we're gonna in case anyone's not picked up on it on the Twitter, and I think we're gonna pause at the end of this term and not continue with the show for a while. That's slightly selfish and slightly indulgent on my part, but I think we've probably done all we can with it without, I think, in a way. But
I don't know that I've fully explored the range of noises I can get out of that guitar amp.
Or have I? Hang on.
We might have to do a special on that one. I haven't heard the sound effects. Yeah, the TV sound effects. Have we gone far enough down that road? Don't need that one. I was teaching the children how to make this. Teachers who've ever taught computing for Key Stage 2 will know this. I was teaching children how to make a maze game in Scratch this afternoon, and they discovered the sounds menu.
Oh dear.
My word. They were recording themselves and then speeding it up and playing it backwards, and I was like, well, I'm sure we could tick off quite a lot of learning objectives here if we're in the mood, but my word, stop that noise.
Yeah.
Stop that noise.
Yeah, so I think, but we're gonna because I've sort of had a lobotomy really since getting my new job for September. I'm misbehaving a bit at the moment. That's what I've been doing this evening. Not so much the 3/4 of the bottle of wine that I've drunk, but more so a newly set up today WhatsApp group with some of my colleagues at my current school, because I've been shopping today. Wednesday's my day off. In September, I'll be working 5.5 days a week, Saturday mornings as well.
5.5.
And I will have some frees in to compensate for the extra Saturday morning. But I blah 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 blah. I've been to buy. I'm quite a big guy and I'm out of shape, and I figured that to lose the weight to fit into my kind of current suits that I own, the 2 suits that I own, they're a bit tight. And I thought, you know what, it's not realistic. I could swim at Bucks Mills every morning in the summer when I'm down in Devon, but it's not going to make me lose weight because I still like cheese too much. And so I've bought some new suits today. I've been shopping. I've been to buy my new wardrobe. I bought 2 new suits today and some shirts, and I've bought a few ties. I'm kind of anti the tie. I prefer a floral shirt and an open neck collar, but I'm going to be working at a senior school, a senior secondary school, a senior independent school, and the kids wear ties. Well, the boys wear ties, and so I've got to conform, and I've spent quite a large amount of the last 2, 3, 4 years pushing boundaries and challenging the system, and actually, I've decided that yes, that's it. At my core, that's still who I am, but ultimately, I need a job. I need to enjoy my job. I need to feel valued. I need to respect the rules and regulations of that employer, and conform to it. And so I've had a bit of a lobotomy about all this educational idealism in the last few weeks and months, because ultimately, I really enjoy teaching, and I'm looking forward to teaching in a different school, because it'll be a really exciting, to find out. Whether, because I've only had really the experience of teaching in one school for 9 years and 2 schools briefly on placement on my PGCE, and lots of school visits when I was a Pfizer scientist, but that's very different, than going as a volunteer. So it's going to be good, and I'm very excited about that. But I realise that I'm going to have to work quite a lot harder than I am right now, because 1, I'm only working 4 days a week, and 2, I've got a bit stale, and I need a fresh start and a fresh. And so I'm being a bit naughty, but also, particularly today or in the last few days, I probably shouldn't say too much about it, but I'm going to because I'm not too worried about it. I was actually on break duty on Monday morning when we had our sort of staff briefing meeting. So Monday morning break, there's a staff briefing meeting for the week, and so I wasn't in that because I was on rota on break duty during it. But there was a lot of seething, annoyed people afterwards as the head decided to sort of pick a bit of a fight with the staff on professional attire. Yes, and I think that's a bit of a weird timing, really, because we've just had a really good inspection result. A really good.
The lack of ties was not mentioned as a limiting factor in the school's development.
And we're fairly buoyant as a staff body after that, and it's got all his staffing sorted out for September, and I just don't know why. It's not no ties. A no tie is okay with a jacket. Apparently, that's fine. So I'm all right. I'm good. It's the pumps for female colleagues. So they might be wearing quite a smart dress,
right?
And they might be wearing a matching pair of pumps, but because those pumps are basically trainers, don't want trainers. He doesn't want people wearing trainers. We've got a bit scruffy, and so some of my female colleagues are really incensed by this.
These are very smart pumps that I paid good money for.
Exactly, and they look smart. They look stylish. They might not look.
Judging that.
It's just
judging that.
It's just a bit weird,
No, it's insane.
So
weirdest day fixes on this, don't they? Oh well, the parents aren't going to respect you if you don't wear a Hawaiian shirt and a pair of shades. I'm like,
I do not get something, Ed. Is that a can of Coke?
It's a similar colour.
No, so I think I started a WhatsApp because one of my colleagues, one of my male colleagues, was held up as an exemplar because he wears a suit. He wears a suit every day, and he's lovely. He's lovely. He's one of the loveliest people you could meet. He's our head of geography. He's our organising the Leavers program. He's a great guy. He's a year 8 tutor, and he is a great guy. But he always looks very, very smart. He's tall, he's thin, he's dark, he's handsome, he's everything I'm not. And he always wears a nice, dark suit or a navy suit. Normally a white shirt, normally a fairly plain tie, a little bit Gordon Brown. In that sort of sense. But he's an exemplar of how we should look in an independent school. And when I first started, I did wear a suit, and I will be wearing a suit. But I've got a bit big. I've outgrown my suit, so I've gone a bit, sort of slacks and jacket and shirt, and I look perfectly smart. I don't think I'm not. But also, there's a lot of games, sport at schools, at independent schools in the afternoon. So colleagues of mine who are involved in the games program, the sport program in the afternoon, might be wearing their games kit, their school branded games kit in the mornings whilst they're teaching. So that's also unacceptable, apparently. And but I just sent a note because I'm always very impressed by this colleague who's friend and colleague who looks so smart in his suit. And I always do that sort of, Vic and Bob on Shooting Stars, all that rubbing the inner thighs, when John's looking good in his suit. And so I'm going to try and outsuit him. My challenge now that I've got my new wardrobe for September is I'm going to try and outsuit the teacher's pet, who's most smartly dressed colleague. And so I started a bit of a WhatsApp group banter with some colleagues about this evening, and it's been very, very amusing. So that has got me a little bit high, more than the wine, I think, to be honest, Ed. Anyway, there we go.
Anyway, there you go. Yeah. Well, that was great for a program about professional attire and how we define professionalism within the education sector. Which is a good chat, isn't it? It's a good chat for another day.
It's not what we're meant to be chatting about.
To talk about, Toby. What we agreed to talk about, and you did share this on the internet, so you can be held to it. Somebody's got to hold you to account, and if I don't, no one else will. We were down to discuss love and do you say sloth or sloth?
I think I say sloth.
Do you? See, I'm sure when I was a child, the animal was a sloth. I think the sin might have been sloth, but I'm sure that the animal was a sloth.
Sloth bear.
Because they are slow, aren't they?
It's not a sloth bear. You're right. It's a sloth And you get sloth bears, don't
But
you, as
young
well?
people nowadays call it a sloth. Everything's changing. I'll be
But
52 next month.
of the 7 deadly sins, it's
Yeah.
sloth, not sloth.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, when we're talking about sin, it's sloth. And when we're talking about rainforest, they're not bears, are they? What are they? They're
No, there's a
sloths. Anyway,
there's a
sloths.
sloth, but the sloth is like a bit like a heart. It's a bit like a badgery thing, isn't it?
It's a bit like a badger crossed with a cinnamon roll, isn't it? I think that's more or less what it is. But yeah, young people nowadays, they're obsessed with them. They have pencil cases in the shape of them and hot water bottles and like lunch boxes, all sorts. I think if they met one in real life, they might be rather disappointed. I don't think they are the most charismatic of creatures. And they go, look, it's a sloth. And I say, it isn't, it's a sloth. And they look at me as if I'm insane. I mean, I may well be. There's no point arguing about it. But I think in this matter, I'm correct.
No, you are correct. I'm
correct.
willing. I'm going with you. I'm going with you. But you, just to clarify, I mean, as a theme for a radio show, which is why I've sort of been a little indulgent in my long as a theme for a radio show, which is supposed to be somehow linked to teaching.
Oh,
the 7 deadly sins.
Are you? Yeah,
was your idea. It was your idea, Ed, and I like it. I think it's brilliant. We've got 7 shows left.
More than it was. I think it was a response.
It was a response. Let's do the 7 deadly sins.
We will, over the next 7 weeks, friends of the radio, we will be exploring each of the 7 deadly sins as it relates to our shared interest in the education sector. I suggested we start off with sloth because I know a lot of very slothful teachers.
But then why didn't you throw in love as well? So love is the counter to sloth, is it? Is that the idea?
I thought we could have 7 deadly sins, and I tried to remember what they were. I don't think I said. Let's just do that now. 7 deadly sins. What are they? What are there's sloth.
Let's alternate. Go. You go sloth. I go sloth. Wrath.
I'll go lust.
Lust. Oh, you've got lust. I'm going to go greed.
Oh. I'll go microwaving fish in the staff room. Is that one? It should be.
No, it's not.
All right. I must have misread it.
Hang on. What have we done? Let's just get the list straight. We've done sloth. We've done wrath, which is it?
Yeah.
Wrath.
I did that. I did lust. I'll give you
lust. I did greed. We've got 3 more, Ed.
I think, gluttony.
Envy.
Pride.
Yes, that's it.
Is that it?
That's
pride,
all 7.
Greed, wrath, envy, lust, gluttony, and sloth. I don't know which of those are most common in the. Do you say wrath? Grapes of wrath. You don't say grapes of wrath, do you?
Wrath. Grapes of wrath. Grapes of
wrath. Within our teaching profession, pride. Well, very much goes before a fall, doesn't it? There'll be lots to talk about when we get to pride.
We can't talk about pride today, Ed. Pride's not on the agenda
I'm just thinking when we get to pride, that'll be a good one.
That will be a good one.
Yeah, I said wrath, absolutely. Envy, oh, for my goodness sake, there's a lot of envy. There's an awful lot of envious teachers, isn't there?
Yes.
Lust, that might be an awkward one.
It might be an awkward one, but let's try and unpick it because I think that's integral to human life.
Okay. And gluttony, well, yeah, a lot of gluttonous teachers. And so sloth, let's try and defend the slothful teacher because there's a lot of teachers who manage to get through their days, I notice, with the least possible effort. And is that sloth or is that wisdom? You can work damn hard in our profession. You can work incredibly hard and make very little more impact on the pupils under your care than if you had.
I'll tell you, it's really good. So I think I'm going to say that it's harder to be in any profession, whether it's teaching or bench science or project management or whatever. I think it's probably harder to be slothful or slothful or whatever the word is, slovenly these days than it was, say, 30 years ago when we first started working.
Goodness, yes.
So you could, when I don't, sorry, Zeneca Agrochemicals, part of AstraZeneca for a while, now part of Syngenta. But I did work really hard when I was there from 1995 through to 2001, but definitely not all the time. There were some days which just went with banter and discussion about very many things that weren't really, I had a colleague who used to come into work and put his lab coat on in the morning and just walk the corridors with his lab book, his lab notebook in his hand, and he would just walk around and he just looked like he was working, but he was doing nothing. And then I had another colleague who was called Lance, who came in and then spent 20 minutes on the loo upon arrival. And I said, Lance, what have you been doing? And he said, I'm not going to fucking shit it. I'm sorry, I've just sworn. Sorry, blank it out, bleep.
Poop.
I'm not going to
poop on my own time.
I'm not going to poop on my own time. And there's a lot of that happened, but and that probably happened everywhere.
Well, it's very, very hard in the teaching profession, isn't it? It's definitely hard. You don't get a quiet day, but I'll tell you what, when you're a class teacher with your own class, you do get days where you go, well, they've just got to finish off their non-chronological reports, basically, and it's going to take as long as it takes. They've had all the input, they've planned them, for heaven's sake. Basically, they need to crack on, and the less I do, the better. If I can create a learning atmosphere where they crack on, then maybe sitting behind my desk is the way to do it. Once you come out of being a class teacher, and my next job after being a class teacher was doing the PPA all around the school. So I taught every class for half a day or a week or something like that. And I never had a day. That was not possible. Every day I had to reset the expectations, rebuild the challenge, rebuild the oh my word. That was never easy. And then since I've stepped into headship, flipping heck, there is no such thing as an easy day. I have not had an easy day.
No.
I haven't had a lunch break since I took the job on,
No.
So if you're going to be a little bit slothful, stay in the class. Have your own class. Train them early on, really hard in September and October, so they know how to do what you need them to do.
Yeah, then you can buy yourself the odd 20-minute nap, can't you? Yeah, you can buy yourself the odd 20-minute little nap.
I trust you, and I want you to get on with the learning. I'm going to have a little snooze here. I'll only be pretending. If there's any silliness, I'll be out of my chair. You're not pretending. You're actually snoozing. They don't know. Only if you've trained them well enough.
But I think it's. I mean, that's smart, isn't it? That's if you are that teacher, and I suspect you were probably smart enough and capable enough to be that teacher, or in a way. And I'm not. I don't think I'm smart enough to do that. So I think I'm a busy teacher. I don't really. I don't. For example, in my school that I'm in now, it's going to be different next year. But we have one science lab, and I'm pretty much the only teacher that teaches in there, really. And so it's my domain. I don't have to keep it tidy for any other teachers. I don't have to, and so. But really, if I have a 1 hour science lesson and we're doing something practical or involving moving around the classroom or something, like whatever it is. The last 5 minutes or the penultimate 5 minutes, perhaps, before doing the plenary or the wrap up or the summary or the setting the homework or whatever it is, really ought to be the children tidying up their own mess, but I'm too enthusiastic about my subject. So I just keep going, if we're having a good discussion or they're collecting good data or they're doing, then I'm just going to keep it to the end. And then the mess is left for me, and I don't have a science technician. So the mess is left for me or the cleaner, poor bless her soul, to sort it out, really. And that's not good, so I'm not a natural born, instead of, I want to teach for 57 minutes. I don't want to teach for sort of 49 minutes, if that makes sense. And that's just, and so I'm kind of busy, but I think, and I'm just naturally got this sort of energy. So I'm very happy to organize and initiatives and do different things, and anything that's slightly out of the ordinary, I'll put my hand up and volunteer to help out with and get stuck in, because I like variety and things. Whereas there are, I definitely have colleagues who are just, some are smart in terms of their organisation of their time and use of the children to do their dirty work, basically. Others are, frankly, bone idle, and they will just do the bare minimum, and but they don't. It's quite hard for them to hide in the system these days, and they're often really nice people, and they're often reasonably good teachers, but they're not sort of dynamic, and they're not great team players a lot of the time, and so they tend to get sort of sifted out a little bit, and a bit it's interesting, but this topic of sloth or sloth sort of links to the my long waffle about dress and tidiness, because I think you can have the odd teacher who's in their Ugg boots and their sort of leggings and not looking professional, and that's sort of a bit linked to the sloth thing, isn't it? I think I'm not suggesting that people should be wearing a suit or a power dressing in a primary classroom. Certainly not, heaven forbid. But equally, there's what we wear and how we behave tends to sort of shape our mood and people's perception of us, doesn't it?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I guess it does. I mean, I don't think any child that I ever taught thought I was a better or a worse teacher if I was
you had a
wearing
pair
a
of Converse
t-shirt,
All-Stars
a shirt
on,
with
no.
a collar or a tie. And I don't honestly think the parents did either, honestly.
No, but
However,
the independent sector's a bit weird like that. So
I get it. I bet it is, yeah.
But not
I mean,
all
a
the
hugely
independent
varied sector is. I think every time we mention the independent sector, we have to remember how astonishingly diverse that sector is. There's these teeny little, funny little settings which cater for kids who aren't coping too well in mainstream classrooms.
Absolutely.
And, there's that,
then you've got
and then
B-Dales.
there's Eton at the other end, and there's
you've got Eton,
everything.
Which is wearing its tails, and then B-Dales, which is calling teachers by their first name and wearing their own clothes, and is very sort of quite hippie, really. You've got a real spread. You're right.
You've got amazing spread. So people think of the private sector, the independent sector, and they immediately jump to the conclusion that we're talking about Repton, don't they? But we generally aren't, unless we are. So listen. So this fashion at the moment for scripted lessons, and an Oak Academy doing what it was designed to do by stealth, and all of this business, I think is, our great worry is, at least my great worry is, that this is a way of deprofessionalising and saying, well, do you know what? Actually, we've got wonderful scripts that have been trialled and proven to be brilliant, and as a result, we can give them to an HLTA or a parent volunteer, and they will all be blooming marvellous. Script there. So the great worry is that that's actually the undercurrent of it. So we don't actually need a profession, really. We've now cracked teaching so well that we can teach, an AI or a monkey how to do it. But my other point of worry about it, that you can go, well, if the government is saying I can just pick up a lesson plan from Oak and show them the video and then hand them the worksheet, then is that not playing into some teachers who have an inclination to be a bit lazy? Will that not slide that way? Because you're actually being told that's the wisest thing to do. Why would you stay up till midnight making amazing resources and planning wonderful lessons and learning experiences for your children, when actually quite a undercurrent in the current, not even an undercurrent, quite a overcurrent in the current system is saying no. This school has made brilliant booklets, and there's a wonderful scripted lesson plan, and there's the slides on the drive. So please don't work at making your practice better. Just do it exactly as we've been told. They seem to be asking for a slothful profession, or at least risking it. Do you not think?
Oh, well, totally. I think so. I don't know I don't think there's a cunning plan here. I think there is a cunning plan to reduce the amount of money the government has to spend on education to the bare minimum. I think there's that cunning plan, but I don't think there's a cunning plan to sort of deprofessionalize the profession. I think it is just a cost model that's a bit flawed, really. But
it certainly goes that way, doesn't it?
but it does go that way.
Yeah,
So
whether there is a cunning plan, it's hard to imagine many of our current cabinet being all that cunning about anything, really. So you're probably right. But certainly we want to cut the corners, save the money.
So it does encourage a sort of I get really annoyed about it, but I'm not in the sort of, I'm not in the state sector, so the independent sector still values. I mean, it's a rubbish word, but still values passion. I've just seen the word, Mrs. P's just written the word passion down in the chat. And hello, by the way, Mrs. P. And so I think that most parents who are engaged in the education of their children, and most children who are engaged in their education, and most teachers who believe in education rather than just schooling, because the two things are different, probably. I'm a big believer that what it should be about. It's all about relationships and opening minds and exciting people, and not every minute of the day. Sometimes you've got to grind out a few algebraic equations or whatever, but there's got to be an energy about it, and not just a sort of turn to page 64 and read that and then answer those questions, or write me an essay, on this, because I just think it's all a bit, the whole thing's a bit. Hello, Ollie is back from football. He has just walked through, there just tends to be a bit too much. Yeah, but that's the way it is at the moment. But there's no way it's going to be like that in 20 years' time. It's a short term situation. Once AI really does take over the world, which it really is doing in a scaringly fast pace, then education is going to have to change markedly, because we're still stuck in this sort of memory test, regurge, measuring everyone by their success in exams, when actually the adult world, the professional world, the world full of AI and computers doesn't really work like that anymore. So we're sort of propping up a system that's dead, and because we're too scared about the future, probably. I don't know. So yes, it does seem to be encouraging a slightly slothful, unimaginative approach to classroom teaching at the moment.
Now listen, good thoughts. At 9:42. Do you not feel it's time for the news? Because when we come back from the news, we're only going to have about 10 minutes left to talk about love.
Talk about love, yeah. Yes, it is time for the news. If I can get it to play. It's time for the news, everybody. But something's going on. I'm going to try and refresh my browser again, as that's what Tom tells me to do. So if I lose you, everybody, I haven't lost you. We're still live.
You haven't lost us.
Okay. And now I'm going to try and play the news.
It's time for a fresh start to language learning. Pearson EdXL's new student-centred French, German and Spanish 2024 GCSEs cater to the needs of all learners, regardless of their background, ability or reason for studying. Rooted in learned language knowledge, their assessments are transparent and accessible, allowing all students to showcase their language skills. Through inclusive and relatable content, the new Pearson EdXL MFL GCSEs build a shared cultural capital that helps students develop an understanding of and appreciation for the wider world. Find out more at go.pearson.com/MFL GCSE 24.
This programme has been brought to you by the Happy Confident Company. Our clinically approved, ready-to-go wellbeing and mental health programme will help your pupils thrive. In only 10 minutes a day, you'll be able to deliver social and emotional learning and wellbeing tools throughout your school. To find out more, visit us at www.happyconfident.com.
This is Teachers Talk Radio, and this is Teachers Talk Radio News.
The Guardian covers news about the downturn in the numbers of pupils choosing languages and creative arts subjects at GCSE and A-level. The article quotes provisional figures for England, which suggests the exam entries for languages such as German, French and Spanish have fallen at A-level by as much as 17%. GCSE entries have stayed broadly the same. The article goes on to contrast this with the rise in A-level entries for computing by 15% on last year and a 12% increase at GCSE. Business studies is also increasingly popular at GCSE. Data from Ofqual suggests that entries for A-level and GCSEs are on the rise, but that not all subjects are seeing the benefit. Performing arts subjects are also seeing a reduction in numbers at A-level and GCSE, as are those in the area of art and design. The move to more vocational style subjects has been welcomed by some, but has caused others to worry about the loss of creativity for the next generation. Schools Week reports on Capita, the outsourcing company paid to run SATs, and its decision to increase workload for those it employs to mark. Technical issues have already caused a delay to marking, with some not able to access necessary training. Now teachers say the rates they are paid are also being slashed. Rate cards show how those marking some SATs papers could receive as little as 2p per segment, down from 6p last year. And whilst the overall fee this year is likely to be similar to last, the number of responses markers are expected to mark has increased by over 50%. It is feared that this could lead to rushed marking, which may then lead to errors. Some critics also predict teachers walking away, leaving a backlog of unmarked tests. The deadline to return marks to schools is in July. TES reveals the names of those appointed to the expert panel to review relationships and sex education, known as RSE, and the health education curriculum. The guidance will be published for consultation in the autumn. The 5 members of the panel were appointed after Education Secretary Gillian Keegan wrote to schools in March to ensure they were complying with their legal obligations to publish their RSE approach and share curriculum materials with parents. The government has been criticised for taking too long to issue guidance, amid concerns schools and teachers felt left in limbo. The panel members are Professor Dame Leslie Regan, Professor of Obstetrics and Gynaecology and Women's Health Ambassador, Sir Hamid Patel, CEO of Star Academies, Helena Brothwell, Regional Director of School Improvement for David Ross Academies Trust, and Alistair Henderson, a barrister specialising public law, human rights and equality law. The final panel member is Isabel Trowler, Chief Social Worker for Children and Families in England. Finally, vaping continues to make the news, with ministers stating they want schools to be part of the crackdown. The Chief Medical Officer for England, Professor Sir Chris Whitty, however, probably summed up the key messages best in an article for The Times. He said, "If you smoke, vaping is much safer. If you don't smoke, don't vape." He goes on to say that companies trying to addict children for profit are behaving in a shameful way, because we do not know the long-term effects of many vaping agents. The government also announced that the issue of vaping would be added to its review of RSHE curriculum. However, some have already criticised the information provided by government so far as lacking depth and detail. This has been your Teachers Talk Radio News with Joe Fox.
This is 2 Minute Tech with Steve Woods, your tech briefing on Teachers Talk Radio.
Hello, this week I'm going to take a look at report writing. I'll ask the burning question, can ChatGPT write my school reports? Yes, I know there are other AIs out there, but this is the most well known. Before I start, just give me a yes or no in your head. Will it be able to? So, first up, I blatantly asked it, can you write school reports? And ChatGPT said, certainly, I can help you write a school report. Please provide me with the topic or subject of the report, along with any specific guidelines or requirements you have been given. Additionally, provide me with any relevant information or key points you'd like me to include in the report. Okay then. I said, James is good at history and weaker in maths than English. This generated a 961-word report. Here is the opening paragraph. In this report, we will explore James's academic strengths and areas for improvement in different subjects. James demonstrates a strong aptitude for history while he faces challenges in mathematics when compared to his proficiency in English. In conclusion, James exhibits a strong aptitude for history, showcasing a profound understanding of historical concepts and critical thinking skills. His performance in English is commendable, with excellent written and verbal communication skills. However, James faces challenges in mathematics, particularly in problem solving and advanced mathematical reasoning. By providing him with the necessary support, encouragement, and resources, we can help James strengthen his mathematical abilities and achieve a more balanced academic profile. Oh, wow. Right, so what if I get even lazier? I typed, write a primary school report for Tom. This produced a 477-word report covering English, math, science, social studies, personal and social development, resilience and perseverance, responsibility and organisation, finishing with an area for development being handwriting. ChatGPT doesn't half know what Tom is like. My conclusion, given enough information, it could give you a decent report. However, it'd work best as a proofreader / tidier-upper. Give it a brief report and ask it to make it look more professional, or ask it to write the same report in 5 different ways. Letting ChatGPT give you the vocabulary will save you time. Just remember that it uses American spellings. Quite frankly, I was quite blown away by what was produced. This is definitely a time saver when you're trying to say the same thing in different ways. Do you use AI to help you with anything? Let us know at TT Radio Official. I'm Steve Woods, and that was 2 Minute Tech.
2 Minute Tech with Steve Woods, your tech briefing on Teachers Talk Radio.
And back in the room, I was just communicating with Lucy in the chat, Lucy's expressed some disappointment that we haven't linked Love and Pride together, Ed, because some 80s reference. Is that Love by The Cult, the album and the song, and Pride, the song by U2, or is it more complicated than that? I'm not sure. Lucy needs to answer in the chat, which I was apologising that worry not about the sins. To err can oft be fun. A little sloth is normal when the year is almost done. But please do not overindulge. All 7 sins is greed. Listen to Ed and Toby. You'll know love is all you need. Mrs. P! Wow, that is lovely. What a lovely, lovely bit of Mrs. P rhymage. Or hello, Ed, are you there? Ed, where have you gone? Have I lost Ed? I've cut Ed off.
Am I here?
Oh, you are there.
Can you?
I can hear you. Yes.
Am I here?
Yes, I can.
Oh, well, that's all right then. I had to turn it off and on again. Love and Pride is a song by King.
Oh, King!
It was briefly popular, I think, in...
Yes. Oh, I've lost you again. Is it or me who's gone? No. Hello? Oh, technical hitches. I managed to refresh so that I could kind of listen to we could all listen to the news, and now I'm going in and out. Ed, are you back?
You're going in and out like a sailor on shore leave. That's a different one. That one's not.
That's lust. That's not love. Right. Anyway, am I still here now?
Now we've got about 5 minutes to talk about love. What would you like to say on the subject of love in just 1 minute without hesitation, deviation, or repetition?
Love.
Your time starts
now.
Love
makes the world go round. And that is particularly true in the teaching profession. If you are doing the job without love, you are soulless and heartless, and you should be working in business or politics instead. Love is a nebulous concept. I can't go any further now. Hesitation.
I'm sorry, you were doing so well. And as your first time, we normally do give you the benefit of the doubt. But on that occasion, I think that was quite a significant hesitation. I don't think all teachers agree with this about love. I mean, I absolutely do. I think love is at the heart of everything we do. And I'm totally unashamed about using the word love and saying, love is at the heart of the school and it's at the core of everything we do. And when you're working with children, when you're a primary educator, I just don't see how it could not be. I just don't understand. I've got a pupil at the moment who has come from a school where he'd had a really tough experience. He'd been out of the classroom almost all of the time, hadn't been allowed to go to assembly because he had a habit of calling out, had been made to believe that he was really not a proper member of that school, not a worthwhile person. And just, awful, self-esteem through the floor, and the parents tragically hadn't understood that this was a rubbish school doing a rubbish job. They just thought that's how it is. He's not good, He came into school and we said, "Hello, nice to meet you. What do you really like about school?" He said, "I can't do maths." I'm like, "That's all right. Lots of people find maths quite hard. What do you really like though? What's your favourite bit?" So I'm not very clever at writing. I'm like, my God, what's gone wrong here? So we're just loving that child, surrounded with calling the parents and saying, we're so proud of his maths. He worked so hard. You should see his book. We're going to photocopy and send it home. You'll be amazed. We're so proud, because that child had not been experiencing at his previous school, and as a result had a horrible time and had fallen out of education, which is like, okay, tell you what, the reading will come along, the writing will come along, the maths will come along, it'll all come along, but what has to start with is this child feeling they belong. And I guess when I say we show all our children love, what I mean is we show them all the right to belong as them, as who they are.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think love is central to what we do. However,
it sort of flips overnight, doesn't it?
Conversations on the Twitters where people said, "Oh, I don't think it's about love. No, it's a job. I do my job as best as I can, but it's not an emotional thing." I don't think you're right.
It is a job, but it's not. It's a weird job. I've done jobs before. I had a career in industry as a scientist. That wasn't just a job.
You very rarely mention.
I know. But I've done jobs before. Working on a farm, and a lot of the time in industry was a job as well. It was, but teaching's not just a job, and of course there is a school of thought which suggests that it should just be a job. And we are too, and we'll come on to that when we talk about pride, I'm sure. We do have this sort of martyrdom and this pride, and we convert it into something else bigger than it probably really is, and stuff. But I just can't see how you can. You and I cut from a similar cloth in this regard. I just don't think how you can extract the sort of human condition from it, really. I think that is the sadness with all the stuff we were talking about before the news about scripted lessons and so forth, etc., etc. But no, love's an important part, but it does diminish as the children get older because, one, it's quite hard even as a parent to love an adolescent, and so it's doubly hard as a teacher to love an adolescent who's
look, love it's not, is it? But love looks
love looks different. So when
as a little child who's 3 years old who sees me walking into the lunch hall, runs across because she needs the hug because she's seen Mr. Finch, and wants to tell me about her morning. That's pretty hard not to have those
I'm going to
miss of love that you have
next year because I even though I've never taught below year 5 in my current school. My bread and butter's been year sort of 6, 7, and 8 really. But I've taught a lot of year 5 as well, but I have run sort of after school clubs, junior science clubs for year 3 and 4, and I do on a Friday afternoon. Sometimes young farmers club, and and then at break duties, there are year 3s in the school, and they're already younger than that as well. But they're just adoring and sweet in a way that no one over the age of 10 can ever be, and I will miss that next year, but that's I've done that now, so that's a new chapter.
Yep.
But I think and that it is easier to sort of love that wide-eyed enthusiasm and that completely what's the word, they're just not self-conscious, are they? We become increasingly self-conscious as we go through schooling, and that takes quite a long time to dissipate in adult life as well. Once you get to about 50, you become quite relaxed about things, I think. But in our 30s and 20s, we can be quite tense about what other people think about us and stuff for quite a while, can't we? I think, and so love's a huge important part of the profession. Whether it should be, I don't know. I think in the ideal world, we would perhaps compartmentalize things a bit better than we maybe do. I don't know.
Well, I think we'll carry on being humans.
Yeah.
I think we'll carry on being humans. And as a humanist, I am proud to be a human. And I think those messy feelings, because those feelings of love for children, they're evolved so that we look after our genetic young, aren't they?
They're vulnerable, aren't they? They're
for.
precious and they're vulnerable because
And we love them. So, like, yes, the child runs across the hall and they jump into my arms because they're so excited to see Mr. Finch and they want to cuddle because, and yes, that touches off all those emotions that are hardwired into me, which are there so I look after little ones.
Yeah.
And we are humans and we have human emotions. Similarly, we get peed off when people are disrespectful for us. And that's difficult as teachers because we experience disrespect.
Yeah.
Anyway, listen, have you noticed how it's 10 o'clock?
I've noticed how it's 10 o'clock.
The
and I've
audience
also
is
noticed how
dropping
it's 10
off.
o'clock. And I've noticed how my daughter Gemma, who is 18, who finished her A-levels on Monday, I haven't seen her since Monday. She's been playing hockey. She's in a summer mixed age and mixed gender hockey league summer. And she's been playing that. And she's just come through the front door. And I really need to have a glass of wine with her because she's, to congratulate her.
You do.
So we do need to finish more or less on time.
Finish that bottle with her.
But I just want to say, Ed, that I was a little sceptical of this concept of the 7 deadly sins as applied to teaching and the counter, whatever it is, love's counter. We could probably talk about love a bit more.
I would say though,
but it's worked.
Well, we need to think a bit, don't we? If we've got 7 deadly sins, are there 7 cardinal virtues?
Yeah.
And if so, what are they? But anyway, let's finish with a song and then let's say goodnight to the people.
Good.
I wonder if I should tune it first.
What song are we doing?
You'll know it.
Oh, no.
You'll be on the chorus, mate.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd miss you half as much as I do. I never thought I'd feel this way, the way I feel about you. You ready?
As
soon as I wake up every night,
every day,
I know it's you I need
to take the blues
away. It must be love, love, love. Ba-da-bum. It must be love, love, love.
Nothing more, nothing
less.
Love is
the best. How can it be that we can say so much without words? You and me, Toby. Oh, what a connection. How can we only do 6/4? Bless you and bless me. Bless the bees
and the birds.
I gotta be near you every night,
every day.
I couldn't be happy any other way. It must be love, love, love.
Sing along, everyone.
It must be love, love, love. Nothing more, nothing less.
Love is the best. It's a great song, that, I think Madness were really quite fantastic, actually. They wrote some fantastic pop songs.
Yeah.
That's it.
Stories I could tell you, though, Toby, stories I could tell you. Not, shall we say, the nicest...
Some of them.
People.
No, they like the Friday night fight, I imagine, some of them. Yeah, but I don't know.
I'll tell you some stories that would make your hair stand on end.
Right.
Colleague of mine's daughter married the guitarist, and I had all a Jen. I did.
Right.
Anyway,
okay.
That's not for tonight.
Not for tonight.
There was. Anyway, so look, have a wonderful
great
evening.
week.
Have a glass of wine with your brilliant daughter, and I will see you same time, same place next week to discuss which sin are we wanting next week.
What do you think? Should we do envy? I think we should save pride up.
Envy.
Should we do envy?
Okay, we'll do envy. Keep lust for last. Lust for last.
Lust for last. Yes, lust for last.
Lust for last.
Lust for last. Good idea. We know what song we're doing
All
that
right.
week.
Well, look after yourself.
Take care, everybody.
Look
Thanks for
forward
tuning
to
in.
speaking.
Sorry about my accidental swearing earlier on. Sorry about the tech problems earlier on. But it's great to be back. We're going to enjoy the next few weeks. Lucy, you really don't want to call in. You've hit something wrong on the button. You know you don't mean to do that. Take care, everybody. Speak to you next week. Bye-bye. It's not playing. Oh, it is playing. No, I can't get the.
Soon as I wake up every
That's it.
night,
That's
every
the end
day.
theme.
Na, 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 na.
Anyway, we got the news to play, which was good, and the adverts and the tech update. Always important. Take care. Back next week. Bye.
Night, night. Love you all. Bye.